Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tanya from Power Pantaloons. I'm your holistic cancer wellness guide, and today we have Marlene with us. I'm not going to try to pronounce Marlene's last name. I'm going to let her do that, and I'm going to let her tell everybody what it is she does. Hi, Marlene.
Hi, thank you, Tanya. It's Marlene Skripitz. It's Polish heritage that I got from my ex-husband. Um, and what I do is I regenerate hope. I transform despair into a flourishing life for stroke survivors.
That is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
It's absolutely amazing. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I have a pretty amazing life. I'm very grateful. I can do just about anything I want to do, and I have the freedom to do that. But it wasn't always that way. Um, I had a stroke in 2019 in the pons area of the back. It's in the um, brain stem that's attached to your spinal column. It affects pretty much every nerve ending that goes through your body. And it left me paralyzed on my right side. It left me unable to speak. It left me with limited hearing. It left me with the inability to swallow properly. My balance was affected because it's the inner ear that coordinates your balance. It left me cognitive limited. Um, I couldn't walk. I couldn't move my arm. I couldn't move my middle body, but I was in bed and scared and wondering how my life was going to go from here on in. So I made a decision that that stroke was not going to define me, that I had had an amazing life before the stroke. I'm physically active. I do sports. I do hiking. I am in the community. I enjoy so many things. And I was determined that day in bed that was not going to be how my life was going to end up. So from that moment on, and this happened in November 2019, I decided that I was going to work as hard as I could. I was going to more than do my part in bringing myself back to health. And in New Year's of 2020, I was able to go home on a 1 day pass. And although I could not walk by myself, I could stand by myself, which was quite a milestone.
Absolutely.
And, and I could move my arm somewhat. I couldn't actually lift anything with it, but I could move my arm, which was a bonus. Up until that point, it was almost impossible to eat. I used my fingers a lot. I couldn't make my fingers work to hold a fork or a spoon. Um, so going back to rehab after New Year's, I had okay, I want to be home. I want to definitely be home, and I made a pact with myself that I was going to walk out of rehab. That there was no way I was going to be in a wheelchair or a walker, maybe supported by a cane, but I was going to be on my own 2 feet. And I worked diligently with my therapist. In fact, they said, Marlene, I think you're doing too much. And I go, no, I can't ever do too much. This is my mission. I'm going to walk. And this was February. And in 2020, we all know what happened.
Yep.
COVID hit. Just when I was about to go into my next 8 weeks of rehab as an outpatient, they closed down the hospitals. So here I was. I could walk, but I was with a cane and crutches. I refused to use a walker. Um, the wheelchair had long gone, but I was not what you would call balancing well. I needed support. Going upstairs was quite an effort. Going outside because everything is, you don't notice
Hot,
how,
hot.
yeah, you never notice how uneven things are until you can't navigate. So I'm lying here in my home And I had great support. Like so many people helped me. But I knew if I didn't push myself and continue the rehab that I was getting, I may be like this the rest of my life. Because I had seen so many stroke survivors who I was fortunate enough to meet come back into the hospital after they'd been re-entering life and were still very much limited by what they could do. And I thought, I don't want that. I don't want to be a burden. I am very independent, and I decided that my life was going to be on my terms. So everything that I had learned in rehab, I put into a program. In a previous life, I had been a personal trainer where I had worked with people, um, a lot of sports enthusiasts who wanted to kick up their game, muscle imbalances, um, different things. I worked with many different athletes. I also work with people who had fibromyalgia and just muscle dysfunction in daily life where they couldn't do the simple things of articulating a hand or moving, different parts of the body.
Yeah.
So I have a really solid background in what the body can do. So at that point, I decided to develop this program and take everything that I had learned from the therapists and all the notes and all the exercises and all the mental and emotional and physical things and combine them into a year-long program that I worked on every single day to push myself forward. I had to be accountable to me, not anybody else. I was the only one that was going to benefit from this. If I didn't do it, where was I going to be? If I did do it, where was I going to be? But I knew I didn't want to stay where I was. So I also have a very solid practice in Kundalini Yoga, which is about moving energy through the body. It's a spiritual, emotional, psychological, um, physical yoga that I believe may have saved my life.
I I completely relate. When I was going through my cancer journey, I believe that there were three things that were super important. Number one was mindset, just like every day there was only one item on my to-do list, and that was I changed my underwear. I put on a fresh pair of Wonder Woman panties, which is where we get the power pantaloons. And for me, that was the physical representation of me actively deciding that I was going to live. Number two, build the right support system. You want people around you that are in complete alignment with the healing wellness
Yeah,
track that you are on
yeah,
board. You don't want anybody giving you any limitations. For me, I didn't want anybody grieving me while I was standing in their face.
no,
Please don't mourn me. I'm still here. Like we can do that later,
yeah,
like in 100 years, whatever. Like I don't have time for that. That's not on my agenda today. And the third thing was using alternative wellness modalities such as Reiki, aromatherapy, sound healing, crystal singing bowls, detoxifying baths,
yes, all of that.
stretches,
Yes,
all of that
yeah,
in conjunction with, like, in addition to what my oncologist told me to do. So it sounds exactly like what you were doing. You were following instructions from your medical team. You had the
yeah,
right support network, and you decided what you were going to do.
yes, yes. I
Yeah.
was going to have a life. I was going to survive. It could have been very different. The doctors told me if the clot had been bigger, if it had moved just a quarter of an inch, I would have been totally paralyzed and there would have been no recovery. That's
Yeah.
how close I came. So I'm very grateful for all the people in my life, all the support system I had, and for my Kundalini yoga, which was my mindset. Keep focused, go inside, be present, be who you are. Um, be positive. Maybe a negative situation, but be positive because the way you think is where you're going to go. And I refuse to think that I was a victim. I refused to think that I was going to stay where I was. I refused to think that my life could not go forward and have a full, fulfilling, flourishing, accomplished life.
Yes,
And I've done
all
that.
of that. Yes.
And I'm still doing that because there's still glitches that I have that maybe most people don't notice, but I'm very conscious of them. And I work on them every day to develop a way to work around them and with them because some of them I may have the rest of my life.
How old were you when you had your stroke?
I was 70, 69.
Nine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like I was only 38 when I went through my journey. So like I can't even I can't even like you know at that age it has to be that much more difficult
Yeah.
to motivate your body to do the things that you want it to do. I know that as I've aged, it's harder to do certain things, and I'm just got into my 50s, right? Like so that's such a weird thing to say out. What?
It is so
Clearly that's wrong, right? I must be doing my math wrong.
it is I've always had this outlook all my whole life. I never saw my age as something chronological. I always have felt and still feel like I'm 25. Um,
Yeah.
that's my mindset. I can learn anything, do anything I choose to do, and I'm not going to be limited by outside factors. The only limit to me is this up here. And I decided it wasn't going to limit to me in any way. And I am truly grateful to my practice and my um, training days where I developed programs for people that I was disciplined because I wanted to be the example. So I had that self discipline in me that I could use. And by motivating my clients to do what they, needed, that came back to me. Like it was like, okay, let's go. Yes, it hurts, but keep going.
Developing discipline to do things a lot easier to develop that muscle when you're younger, but
Yes,
you
yes.
know, you could develop it at any time when you decide something and you have a big enough why behind it, you can set yourself up and just plow through it and do what you want to do because you know you can. The
Yeah.
why is big enough to do it.
Well, there were some times when I didn't know that if I could. Um, but then it was okay, just try small steps and see what happens. So after you do about 20 small steps and you see progress, you go, all right, I can do this. It just, yeah, always have to be open
Yeah.
to possibilities. And that's what I was. I was open to it. I felt that this happened to me for a reason. Um, it brought me to my knees, but I think I needed to change my life and what I was doing in my life. And I wasn't going to do it on my own. So whether anybody believes in divine intervention, I'm sure that was mine. I'm positive that was mine. It's like, okay, if you're not going to do what you're supposed to do, we're going to stop you and you're going to have to start over. And that's
I
what I've,
believe in the spiritual two by four.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I know for me that there were a couple of days, and just a couple of days that during my process where the day was just overwhelming and too much, and the why almost wasn't strong enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you have times like that too?
Oh, yeah. Um, Eating was an issue. Cooking was an issue. Having to rely on other people to run and fetch things for me. It was like, no, but I had no choice. I really at times did want to give up and go, no, this is just, I'm inconveniencing people. I'm taking them out of their schedule. And I didn't want to bother them. And I didn't feel comfortable doing it. It felt wrong to me. Like it,
Yeah, I know,
it,
Marlene.
yeah.
I know. Like we're brought up in a society where we're supposed to be independent and we're not
Yeah.
supposed to rely on each other for aid, which is absolutely a crock because there are
Yeah.
points in our life where we absolutely have to have support. And we're made to feel like we should be humiliated to ask for this, which is that's
Yes,
just garbage. It's
it is.
absolute garbage
It is.
because there is no perfect life. There will be times when you need somebody to hold your hand and help you with a thing. And learning to have the grace to accept that in this society is hard.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's a little humbling, right? When you have to ask for help and you have always been strong and independent and running around with your own drum, doing your own thing and not relying on others. You were the one that helped other, right? So I find, especially for helpers, that it's much more difficult to
Yes.
accept the help.
Yes. I'm a great helper, but I was so blessed with so much support. I had people at my door like all day long, sometimes more than I wanted, I have to say. But
If
in
we're being honest,
but to be honest, I mean, that was my independent thing. I can do this, but I couldn't. I had to accept the fact that I could not. I needed help. And the other part of it is these people wanted to help me. They weren't doing it because they felt sorry for me. They weren't doing it because, oh, well, it's Marlene. They wanted to do it because they understood what I had given, and receiving and giving are an equal thing. The more you give, the more you get back, and the more it's a beautiful transition.
yeah,
It's and I had given a lot and I got it back tenfold. I'm so grateful, so grateful. I I cannot thank the people enough in my community. I remember when I was in the hospital, and I think it was like the first night I was in the hospital. Um, all my friends that belonged to the community came to the hospital and they did a healing, a hands-on healing for me. There was like 10 of them. And oh my gosh, the energy and the love and the community, the sensitivity, the compassion was just unbelievable.
yeah.
I could not have been more grateful for these. And these people are still in my life today. I'm so
I,
grateful.
I get it. I get it. The night before I went in for my hysterectomy, a friend of mine sat me down and drew healing protection spells, words like all over my back and on my head in henna because I couldn't bring anything into the room with me, right? Like, because
Right.
so I was wrapped in healing love with the henna, and I just thought that was such a lovely gesture, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's
And tattooed in love.
a very tangible thing, but it's so intimate. So intimate.
Yes. I mean, he spent hours doing it, probably 3 or 4 hours doing it. somewhere there's a picture. I hope there's a picture still. Like, you lose things when you go through stuff like that, and
Yes, yes. It's
uh,
amazing the power of giving. When people give freely to you and you acknowledge their compassion and their love for you, there's that energy is profound.
it is.
I think I've actually grown to know what love really is through this process. Um, Showing love to other people, but receiving love as well. It has a whole new different definition for me. And
Yeah,
it probably does for you too.
it's an energy exchange.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
an energy exchange built on compassion and genuine caring for another human being.
Yes. Yes. Without any agenda, without anything.
Right.
Just
Yep.
yeah.
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 I see your pain and I want to help.
Yes. 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 And I had never experienced anything like that in my life, ever. It was a phenomena that somewhat took me by surprise,
Yeah.
but oh my gosh, I have sat in that phenomena since then, and have felt protected and held and cherished by all these people, and I'm so grateful. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful. A stroke happened to me, and that's really strange to say. I know, but my
It's
life,
not because I tell people that I'm grateful for my diagnosis and they look at me like I'm nuts. So I
yeah,
completely understand that statement. It changed your life.
it
It
changed
it
my life.
deepened your relationships. It gave you a, an understanding and it transformed how you interact with others.
Yes, 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 absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It, you know, you don't want to wish anything tragic to happen to anybody, but the other side of it is something really amazing, truly
Yes.
amazing that you would not have experienced otherwise.
Yes. I yeah. I have opinions and feels on this and it like I would never wish any of this on anybody.
No,
It's horrific.
yep,
But if you do go through a journey like this and you do choose to embrace the mindset changes that you need to do, you choose to fight for your life, the other side is magical.
yes, yeah,
And
absolutely.
having said that, it is completely understandable if you decide not to make that decision. Like when you have something like a stroke or cancer and the fight is too big for you,
Yeah,
nobody can tell you different. It is
no,
between you and your deity. I know for a fact that there were a couple of times while I went through mine that that I almost tapped out, and it is really hard to watch other people make decisions where they're not going to fight anymore. But it
yeah,
is imperative to not be selfish and allow them to make their choices because they are their own person. You don't have to like the choice at all, but you do have to respect their decisions for their body.
yeah, yeah.
And it's fucking hard.
It is hard. It is hard. Every situation is so unique, and every person is so unique in the path and the life that they've led. And you're right. You may have your personal feelings, but they are going through what they're going through the only way they know how to go through it. And the decisions that may be made may be difficult to accept, but that's their path. That's what they've chosen.
Yes,
And we have to respect that. We really do. Yeah.
yes. We
Yeah.
have to allow them the dignity and grace to respect their decisions because we respect them as people. We
Yeah.
love them, and we have to take ourselves completely out of the equation.
Yeah.
While it affects us, it's none of our business.
Truly. Truly. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't add to that. I can feel what
100%.
you're feeling and I acknowledge what you're feeling
Yeah.
and I can't add to that. It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause while you love them and you've been part of their life for however many years or whatever, right? Like all of that really doesn't, you haven't actually lived their experience.
No,
Only they have. So they get to decide.
they get to decide. Yeah.
They get to decide.
Yeah. And it's so difficult. I mean,
Yeah,
it's so
it is.
difficult. Yeah.
It is because we want to be selfish and we want to keep them here with us. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's not written that way.
No, and when they're ready to go, they should go. You know,
A hundred
they
percent. 100%.
that's their comfort. They deserve their comfort. They deserve to be with their higher power or whatever their belief is
Yes.
and go in peace.
Yes.
And yeah,
And
yeah.
preferably without any pain. That
Preferably. Yes, preferably. Yes.
technically.
But the peace and the going will end that too. So, you know, we
Yes.
yeah. So yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard when you go through something like this. Um, but it does make you a lot more compassionate of other people. It does make you a lot more aware of um, how people are suffering, but don't always verbalize it. You just kind of have a second sense that you didn't have before, and
You give people a lot more grace and kindness, that's for sure.
yeah,
You
yeah,
really do.
a lot more space than you would have in an earlier form of your life.
The
Yeah,
wisdom that I have now, I would love to pass on to others because
yeah,
it's life changing. Like once you start seeing and existing after something like this, it not only does it give you an appreciation for your life, but it also gives you an appreciation for your friends and family in a completely different way. Um,
I,
yeah,
I like to see it as a navigation. Um, Before I was so totally involved in everybody's lives. Now it's like a navigation. You're in a boat and you're may have sails, but you may not. But you're kind of going with whatever comes up, and it you're very impartial. You get a neutrality towards it. You can see the situation, you can see the suffering, but it's not quite as intense. It's lost its intensity for you to be involved in it. So you can sit back and have true compassion, true love for that person, true give them true space. Whereas it was kind of like you were jumping into their space and trying to do things
yeah,
and you just you stand back and are there for them in a different way, which is a lot more passive. But
yeah,
energetically, it's a lot more powerful.
yes. It allows them the opportunity to let you know what it is they need instead of you trying to predict it and do it and basically unintentionally forcing your will all over them.
Yes, 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 yeah.
While trying to help, you're just making a whole mess of it, like a puppy in a candle factory, right? Like I just
true. It's true. All best intentions, but you know, um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's uh, it's a wonderful space to be in, and I'm so grateful for the awareness that's developed, the conscious um, evolution, transition that's happened because of it. That now I I feel I can be of service to others in a more authentic way.
Right.
Yeah, but whatever capacity that is, I my agenda isn't the agenda anymore.
Right. 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 The path I want to live for myself is all I can be in charge of. It's all
Yeah,
I'm supposed to be in charge of.
yeah, yeah.
I'm willing to hold hands with others on my path while we're here, but I'm not going to tell them that they have to stay on my path when they have other things to do.
Yes, yes, yes. And support them on their path, whether you believe it's the right path or not. It's their life. They get to choose, not you. It's really none of your business, like you said. It
Sometimes that's hard.
is so hard. It is hard. It's very hard. But that's
Yeah.
part of the evolution that I think we're meant to go through, um,
Yes, I agree.
to learn that. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. All right, Marlene.
Ooh.
Do you have a gift for our audience today?
I have a free session with me if you'd like to talk about your life and how you'd like to regenerate it. It's open to people whether they have a stroke or they don't have a stroke. Um, the transitions are the same. You want to travel from despair, whatever that despair is in your life, to a fulfilling life, a flourishing life. So I offer you a session with me so we can talk about how I can help you in that aspect. So,
Sounds absolutely lovely. I will make sure to have it in the below. And as always, I also have a gift. It is the two essential oils that I used every day while I was going through chemotherapy. Marlene, I really want to thank you for being on the show today.
oh,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
your wisdom, and your
It's been a
story.
blessing for me,
Your story
truly.
is very powerful. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.